think it's funny how women want like a traditional masculine man.
Just lay it flat. Okay. The women are saying that's not what they're wanting, and that maybe you should try therapy.
What's your problem?
I'm old as hell.
Really? You don't look old. You're not gray at all. You're blue.
Oh, yeah, no, that's all dyed. No, I'm almost 50.
You're almost 50? Wow, I wouldn't have known from the blue. Oh, the blue hair is over the white hair.
Yeah.
I see what you did there.
I'm chubby. It pushes out the wrinkles.
Well, what is getting old like?
It's like being young, but you're tired and it hurts.
Oh, so not like being young at all?
No, you still feel like you're young, except for everything hurts and you're tired.
So it's like being young, but like after you do anal.
For real. Like
you're tired, it hurts, you can't get out of bed. Wow. All right, so I shouldn't be excited to get old?
Por favor.
Jose Mourinho, facciamo una foto.
Muchas gracias, Mourinho.
Muchas gracias. Vai, facciamo la foto. Siamo? Perfetto, grazie.
Muchas gracias.
Un momento, por favor, Mourinho, un momento.
¿De qué?
Un momento.
Sí.
No. Ven.
Que venga.
Un momento. Mourinho, por favor, un momento, por favor. No han hecho el favor. Mourinho, por favor. No han hecho el favor. Tú sabes que para mí la Roma es muy importante. Soy romanista hace ya 24 años. Y me ha costado mucho encontrarte. Muchísimo. Creo que va a merecer la pena, después de los 3 años que llevamos juntos. Y tanto tú como yo no nos perdemos ni un partido, aunque estamos a la distancia, estamos lejos. Y por el virus no te he podido llevar al estadio todavía. Pero antes quiero pedirte si te quieres casar conmigo.
Claro que sí.
Muchas gracias. Forza Roma sempre, unica maglia, tifosi romanista differente.
Have you heard how in May of 2022 a Toronto-based 5-year-old student was taped down to her chair in her kindergarten class by her teacher? Now, the little girl did not inform her parents immediately of what happened. Understandably, she was very scared, but another classmate of hers did go home and tell their parent what their teacher had done that day in the room. When the parent asked her child about what happened, she was visibly upset, very agitated, very distraught, clear that she did not want to talk about this and even asked to talk about something else. When she asked her daughter to show her what happened, the mom sat down and the daughter took green tape and put it across her thighs and taped her to the chair. When the mother asked why the teacher did this, the student said that she was supposed to be sitting in her seat and she kept getting up, as children often do. They're children. She's 5 years old. This is not uncommon. But the teacher said that she was going to tape her down so that she couldn't get up anymore. The daughter also informed her that this had happened to not only her, but other students in the classroom on more than one occasion. When the mother tried to let her daughter know how wrong this was, the daughter just said, but she's a teacher, so she's allowed to do it, right? The parent immediately told the principal. At 7th Street Junior School, Toronto District School Board then also contacted its Employee Services Department, who then contacted the Children's Aid Society and the Toronto Police Service, but other parents were not informed as to what happened. The parent of the little girl who experienced the assault was told to be very discreet and not talk to anyone about what had happened. Dr. Linda Cameron is an early childhood expert, and she says that the practice is really, really abusive. And she says that this practice should never happen because no one knows what the long-term psychological effects of it are. She also states that kids of kindergarten age require adequate balance between playtime, activity, and schoolwork, so it's not abnormal for children to be hyperactive, especially in a classroom setting, especially at 5 years old. Despite experts saying that the practice is extremely abusive, the Toronto Police Service has indicated that it is not a criminal matter and so they will not be investigating further and no charges will be laid. The Toronto District School Board has indicated that the teacher in question has been put on home assignment, and at this time the board also confirmed that they're investigating 2 other separate incidences in which young students, have been taped down to their chairs in classrooms. A spokesperson for the board has said that the allegations are very serious and if true could result in serious consequences such as complete dismissal. The fact that the board even put it out there, like, if it's true, obviously it's true. It was told to this parent by another parent whose child had witnessed the situation. Teachers in Ontario have a history of taping students down to chairs when they cannot deal with them, and why would a 5-year-old be lying about something that clearly brought her such emotional and psychological trauma?
Joining me now for her first national interview since today's hearing is Republican Congresswoman Liz Cheney of Wyoming, who's one of 2 Republicans serving on the January 6th Select Committee. Congresswoman, good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us. What did you think was the most important part of today's testimony?
Well, thank you, Jake. It's good to be with you. I thought the most important part was the opportunity for the American people to hear directly from these heroes, these men who fought for us, for them to hear firsthand accounts, some that they hadn't heard before, to see footage that we hadn't seen before in some cases, of exactly what they faced that day. The fact that these officers, particularly those on the West Front, were fighting to the death. And they had said that they frankly understood that they might die. And to hear, you know, the rioters and those in the mob in one instance say to these police officers, "You're going to die tonight." I think those kinds of facts are so important as we are discussing why this can never happen again and what we need to do to ensure the people who did it are held accountable.
You said today, quote, "We must also know what happened every minute of that day in the White House, every phone call, every conversation, every meeting," unquote. Why is that? What do you think we could learn?
Well, we need to understand the planning. We need to understand the financing. We need to understand, you know, how it was that we ended up with a group of people who clearly were invading the Capitol, who were attempting to have us stop counting electoral votes, who are conducting this exceedingly violent assault on the Capitol. We need to understand what their connections were. We need to understand what the organizational structure was. And we know some things already, obviously. We know that while the attack was unfolding, President Trump did not send help. And so I think if you look at the things that we know, if you look at the things that were in the impeachment brief, there's a lot out there already, but there's a lot to be filled in, and the details really matter here.
You said this afternoon that the subpoenas for the committee should be issued quickly. Who do you think should be subpoenaed?
Well, that is something that is going to be determined based upon where the facts lead us. Chairman Thompson, as you just reported, has said that he believes that subpoenas should be issued quickly. We need to move quickly to enforce subpoenas if people choose to contest them. But it's really important that we have transparency. It's really important that the American people know exactly what happened. And that we make sure that it can never happen again. You know, we owe that to the democracy, we owe that to our constitutional republic, and we owe it to our kids.
Should the committee be willing to go to court to enforce subpoenas if necessary, even against members of Congress if they refuse to testify?
Absolutely. I mean, I think the committee is going to make those decisions about who will be subpoenaed and what documents we need. Those are decisions that will be determined based upon the facts. And we have to be willing to go to court to enforce those if people contest them.
One of the things I find so troubling about all of this is you and Adam Kinzinger and others are saying that they tried to steal the election. These MAGA forces tried to steal the election once, and they're going to try again. And we don't hear Kevin McCarthy and Steve Scalise and Lee Stefanik say, no, we would never do that again. There is zero attempt at reassuring people that what you are suggesting is not true.
Look, you know, in some ways, I think it's actually even worse than that, Jake. I think that we're in a situation where the people that you mentioned seem to view this as some sort of a partisan political game. And, you know, as every American who watched saw this morning, this is really deadly serious. This is a situation where the institutions held, but it was a close-run thing. And as the chairman said, we didn't have a peaceful transfer of power. You know, we had an insurrection, we had an assault on the Capitol, and today you had members of Congress, Republican members of Congress, actually protesting in front of the Justice Department on behalf of the people who were here and who've been arrested because they participated in the riot and in the insurrection. I mean, that's a stunning and indefensible turn of events.
That was going on one end of Washington. On the other end, on Capitol Hill, the strategy from House Republican leaders McCarthy, Scalise, Stefanik was to counter the committee hearing with their press conference, where their basic message was Speaker Pelosi is to blame. Take a listen to this from Congresswoman Stefanik.
The American people deserve to know the truth, that Nancy Pelosi bears responsibility as Speaker of the House for the tragedy that occurred on January 6th.
I mean, that's obviously nonsense. Speaker Pelosi is not in charge of security in the House any more than then Majority Leader Mitch McConnell was. What's your reaction when you hear them try to blame Pelosi for an insurrection incited and inspired and even directed in some ways by Donald Trump?
Well, I would say a couple of things, Jake. Number one, this committee is going to investigate every aspect of what happened. The planning, the financing, the preparation, the motivation, what was happening that day in the White House, what was happening here at the Capitol, the security breaches at the Capitol. So for anybody to suggest that we aren't going to be conducting a complete investigation is wrong. Number two, if I were saying the things that you just played, I'd be deeply ashamed of myself. What happened is absolutely clear. We had, as we heard this morning, just intolerable cruelty. A mob that was assembled by President Trump was provoked by him. He lit the flame for what happened. We've seen that not just in the speech on the ellipse, but throughout. What this committee needs to understand is exactly what the details were of the planning and the financing. But for anybody to be suggesting that somehow he wasn't responsible, I think it's shameful.
You didn't know Speaker Pelosi particularly well before this. You are a very conservative Republican. She's a very progressive Democrat. You're both fairly partisan. What's it been like working with Pelosi?
You know, I've been really impressed with the professionalism and the commitment to the truth from the Speaker and every member of this committee. I think that, you know, as I said this morning, this is a moment that has to be above politics. It's a moment where we all need to say to ourselves, are we going to abide by our oath, and are we going to put politics and partisanship aside and get to the truth? Or are we going to go down a path that fundamentally threatens the rule of law? And that's not something I'm willing to do. And I think it's crucial for the country that we all conduct ourselves that way.
At the end of today's hearing, one of the four officers, Capitol Police Officer Harry Dunn, said this about you and your fellow Republican on the committee, Congressman Adam Kinzinger. Take a listen.
Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger are being lauded as courageous heroes. And while I agree with that notion, why? Because they told the truth? Why is telling the truth hard? I guess in this America, it is.
What were you thinking when he said that?
I was thinking that Harry and the other officers there, they are the heroes. They're the ones who saved likely our lives, many of us. They're the ones who protected and defended this Capitol. They are heroes. And that as elected officials, as I was sitting there, I was reminded that our job is to conduct ourselves in a way that is worthy of the sacrifices they made and their willingness to fight, as I said, to the death. They believed they might die, and they were willing. Officer Gunnell, Sergeant Gunnell said, you know, I knew I might die, but I understood that might be something that I just have to face in order to defend the Capitol building. And so as elected officials, we all have to conduct ourselves in a way that is worthy of them and worthy of the republic that we've sworn, the Constitution that we've sworn to defend.
You've said that some of your Republican colleagues are actually saying one thing publicly and quite different things to you behind the scenes. What are they saying behind the scenes?
You know, I think we've seen since Since January 6th, certainly, concern among a number of Republicans that public actions could either bring political consequences or could bring real security threats. And so we've seen people who in private will say that they recognize and understand the necessity of the truth and the necessity of getting to the truth, and are trying in public not to draw the wrath of the former president, frankly.
Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy said yesterday that the committee's a sham, the outcome's predetermined, that you and Adam Kinzinger are quote-unquote Pelosi Republicans, although we should note he votes with Pelosi a lot more than you do. How do you convince the Republican base that this is a legitimate investigation?
Well, I think today was a real start. I think that today and the broadcasting of the testimony of these witnesses and beginning to help to get the facts out is really important, and that's the beginning of this process. I think that Leader McCarthy and every leader has an obligation to the truth. Some of us feel like we ought to conduct ourselves accordingly. I think Leader McCarthy is continuing to demonstrate that he views this as some sort of a political game. It's not a game, and it's deadly serious when you're taking action to try to divert attention away and distract from an investigation like this one.
Good afternoon. I want to welcome these leaders for coming in to have this very important discussion about some of the most pressing issues of our time. I am Kamala Harris. My pronouns are she and her. I am a woman sitting at the table wearing a blue suit. And
if you can say Biden, and you can say Clinton, and you can say Pelosi, you can say Trump.
Racist.
Say his name.
Racist.
Say his name correctly.
Racist.
Trump.
Orange.
Butterfinger.
Shouts goes out to my man Calvin Klein, good looking out for the drawers. Not saying I would do another Fruit of the Loom commercial or nothing like that, because they don't make the hype shorts. These are the 90s, man. They just fit good and they hold me snug. So if I'm about to go get some skins, I'm not gonna put on like no silk underwear. Oh, she got freckles. Next question. No, the best protection against AIDS is to keep your Calvins on. Now that could definitely come between me and my Calvins. Do you have Calvin Klein underwear on?
Recently, we compared two superheroes, dashing super guy and...
All right, hopping on the trend of 5 things I would never do based on my profession. So I am a certified forensic interviewer, which means I get to get the truth out of people, public sector and private sector. So number 1, never talk to police. Number 2, never talk to police. Number 3, never talk to police. Number 4, it's a tricky one. Never talk to police. And number 5, if there's nothing else you remember about this, number 5, never talk to police.
And hold on, let me find your name. Miss Bristol.
Yes, please.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm reading. So it's a whole entire month. First of all, let me clarify myself.
Okay.
July 7th is my birthday, the 4th is my son, the 18th is my other son. So that ain't gonna work out for me. Then I'm gonna realize...
Okay, hold on. Wait. Don't talk too fast, please. We have to be able to understand. So you said that there's dates in July that you're not available. What are those dates?
July 7th, July 4th, which is closed, and July 18th. But then again, I need to figure out something. I have my sugar daddy that I see every day.
I'm sorry?
My sugar daddy.
Okay, I'm not exactly sure what you're talking about, but...
Well, I'm married and I have my sugar daddy.
Okay.
And I see him every day.
All right.
Oh shit, bro. Hey, you got a napkin?
Yeah, bro, I got you.
Oh shit, appreciate it, bro.
It's time to bring Brooke and Doc like some pussy and cock.
And the maestro? Who